Welcome to another edition of TPG Opinions. I'm Clint Henderson. Today, I've got some thoughts on the continued poor performance of airlines when it comes to delays and cancellations. Now, I remember back around Christmas of 2021 when airline after airline was having operational meltdowns. We thought surely by summer 2022 things would be back to normal. Not so much. In fact, delays and cancellations have become such a routine occurrence, the points guy has had to come up with talking points for consumers to protect themselves. Things like don't check baggage and make sure you have a backup plan. You've heard us say it before. A whopping 24% of US flights have been delayed in the first 6 months of the year. 3.2% have been canceled outright. That's according to the Department of Transportation. Now, 3% may not sound like much, but it adds up. According to the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, in fact, more than 88,000 flights were canceled in the US just between January and May of this year. It's now routine to hear stories from frustrated consumers of an airline canceling a flight and then not being able to get a passenger to their destination for up to 48 hours later. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg calls the delays and cancellations, quote, unacceptable. But his proposed fixes, while helpful, don't go far enough, at least in my opinion. So what is he proposing? Right now, the DOT is getting feedback on new rules that would do a couple of things for consumers. It would create a rule that consumers are eligible for full cash refunds if a flight is delayed 3 hours or more for domestic flights and 6 hours for international flights. Plane rides would also be refundable if the airline increased the number of connections or even downgraded the type of plane you were traveling in. Now, those rules are likely to go into effect as soon as the 3-month comment period ends, but Buttigieg is also now suggesting new measures that are so far at least not actual rules. That includes demanding airlines give meal vouchers for passengers stuck on long delays and also give them hotel accommodations when passengers have to unexpectedly overnight at some random airport. To me, that seems like the minimum that should be required. Meanwhile, a new portal for consumers is going live that will lay out what they are owed in the event of a meltdown, so the rules are very clear and spelled out for you. Not everyone thinks that's enough. Some politicians, like Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, want the government to go further. He's suggesting steep fines for the airlines for long delays or cancellations. Sanders called on the DOT to require airlines to refund passengers for flights delayed more than an hour and to hit them with fines on flights delayed more than 2 hours. The Vermont senator tweeted, quote, "It's time for Secretary Pete to fine airlines $55,000 per passenger for every flight cancellation they know can't be fully staffed." And it's not just Sanders. Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren and Alex Padilla also want action. In fact, some Republicans are also calling for a crackdown. The airlines, for their part, have been uncharacteristically quiet when it comes to all these suggested changes. The airline trade group Airlines for America said, as our nation emerges from the pandemic, industries across the economy, as well as the federal government, are facing a range of challenges, including a tight labor market. We are all in this together, and U.S. airlines are committed to continuing to work collaboratively with all stakeholders to overcome these headwinds. Sounds like a whole lot of nothing to me. Airlines have also said there is plenty of blame to go around, saying that staffing levels and other air traffic control issues should share the blame. They say they are working to slash flights in order to get ahead of the problems, but they've been doing that since January and it hasn't done enough to solve the problems. We're still seeing all those cancellations, all those delays. Indeed, American Airlines has admitted it could take up to 3 years to get back to full capacity due to pilot shortages. And the CEO of United Airlines said back in July that operations would not return to normal until summer of 2023. That's not good enough to me. I say the airlines are still trying to do too much, and the number of flights needs to be cut even further until operations can return to some semblance of normalcy. I'd argue what we really need is a new passenger Bill of Rights. Just such a bill has been introduced in Congress, though it hasn't passed, and with the lobbying strength of some of these industry, it's probably not likely to. Now, among the provisions that I would personally like to see, number 1, compensation for passengers for flights that are delayed over 3 hours or canceled outright. Number 2, guaranteed accommodations, meals, and transportation costs in the event of a delay or cancellation. Number 3, the ability of passengers to be on competitors' aircraft or even on trains planes or rental cars paid for by the airline in the event of a meltdown. Number 4, time guarantees for customer service resolutions. No customers should have to wait on hold for 8 hours to try to solve a flight problem. While we're at it, I'd love to see some protections for families traveling together. And one more thing, how about some pricing transparency? While this is probably not very realistic to get through Congress anytime soon, if airlines continue to delay and cancel flights and lose baggage like they have been, it may become a political freight train that is too big to stop. The public is fed up, and so am I. Europe has EU261 Compensation, which promises consumers get up to 600 euros for long delays or cancellations. That's about $595 US, and that seems fair to me. I've suffered through an all-day delay or two in my time, and time is money. All this to say, the Department of Transportation is beginning to finally get tougher on the airlines, but I think it's too little, too late. It's time for a US version of an airline bill of rights. We bailed out the airlines to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. The least they could do is get us to our destinations on time or at all. I'm Clint Henderson for The Points Guy, and this is Critiques by Clint. I'll see you next time.